I'm interested. I'm intrigued. I'm scared. I'm a lot of feelings. Sony is really, they're just making the movies. It'll be interesting to see what all of these weird Sony Spider-Verse movies are going to do. Welcome back to the Break Room. In a wild turn of events, we got 2 trailers today. So let's talk about Madam Web and What If Season 2. Joining me today, we got Jordan Morris. We got Coy Jandreau. And we got me, Cassandra Webb, pulling all the spider totems together.
We're all connected.
We're all connected. Whoa!
Got real Bill and Ted.
We all went to the same high school.
Yeah.
Well, I eat maths for breakfast.
Catch you later, Madam Web.
We didn't get a line in the trailer of the classic, you're just like me. What was it in the Echo trailer?
We're not so different, you and I.
We're not so different, you and I. But we did get a classic car falling off the bridge, a Spider-Man trope, we all know. So let's talk about Madam Web first.
Is it a cliche or is it a callback?
It's so weird because the Spider-Verse...
A tradition.
I like that it's a tradition.
A proud tradition of a car teetering on a bridge while our hero
you
gets
got a web.
someone out.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And she didn't have a web yet, so it's maybe later it'll be a callback.
She's got a psychological web.
She'll be getting someone out and she'll look at the camera and goes, I wish I had a web. Oh, crackers.
It's only 2003. What am I going to do? What are your initial trailer reactions to Madam Web?
I really, really liked it, man.
You liked it?
I'm a 2000s guy, and I really love that the Sony movies feel like, and this is full praise, unironically. I love that the 2000s Sony movies feel like the 2023 Sony movies in that you just go to Blockbuster and you're like, man, I want to watch blank, and that genre content. I feel like something happened where when we started making them the way we do today, a certain bit of that fun, lush cheese went away. Okay. I think 2008, 2006, we had The Last Stand, right? Not a great movie. But in that era, we had the Resident Evil movies, and we had the Underworlds, and we had all that.
Now you're speaking my language.
Do you know what I'm saying? But
you like long leather coats.
I want a long leather coat.
Every movie needs a long
leather coat.
leather
Which Blade gave
coat.
us even before The Matrix and set us on this glorious journey.
You need a long leather coat, and you need an Evanescence song over the credits.
New metal, long leather coat, and a very polarizing image on the cover, a very auto-tuned cover. But I felt like Blockbuster was this genre content staple, right? Yeah. And I love that the movies have gotten to the point where it's Black Panther's up for Oscars, and you've got these movies that have this pedigree. But I like that Sony gives me those two, and it's not a bad or good. It's a genre of itself, and I unironically adore the Morbius and Venom movies. Okay. I really mess Craven, that trailer, man. I mess with that hard, and this trailer is a delight. It has kitsch, it has fun, it gets the character, it introduces us to Anya Corazon, a character I never thought I'd see. It has Ezekiel in it. It's a dense trailer that there's probably upwards of 80 to 90 comics I would need to recommend for you to get all of it. It's a lot of storyline in that trailer.
Yeah, when the list came out a couple of months ago that was Sony owns 900 characters based on Spider-Man. There's about 300 of them in this movie.
Just here.
They were really crossing names on the list.
They're all connected.
What did you think?
I
still in the web.
I kind of liked the trailer too. I liked that it had Jessica Jones vibes.
Oh.
I guess the director, who I had not heard of, I looked at her IMDb, and sure enough, a lot of Jessica Jones. Couple Game of Thrones is on there. It's kind of a fun. I don't think we've seen a serial killer Marvel movie, and this is kind of seeming like that's what it is, a serial killer hunting spider people.
And our serial killer is Spider-Man.
Yes, is definitely Andrew Garfield. Yes.
Which
we can all agree.
I mean, it's kind of a brave move to be hey, Spider-Man is this beloved character that kids love. There's a whole Spidey and Friends show.
He's on every backpack.
Yeah, he's the John Cena of comics. He never turns heel, right? He's always good.
Until Brightburn Spider-Man.
Until 12 seconds into this trailer when Spider-Man walks through the door, you're I guess there's gonna he stabbed her. Oh, okay. That's cool, I guess.
But also have the Final Destination vibe. Speaking of 2000s, to me this felt like Final Destination in that you'd have that precog element, but also in that I've been here before. I'm really excited for those flashbacks and those interdispersed overlap fades.
Yeah, we had a lot of discussion in the office. That line she gives of right from the beginning, she gets stabbed and then she goes back to outside the diner and she's like, okay, let's try that again.
Sure.
Felt like Loki, right? It was
Or,
like,
I mean,
did they
Dormammu,
recut
I'm
this
here to
trailer?
bargain.
Oh, yeah.
We got a lot of
Yeah.
Marvel reverses time a lot.
Right, right.
Perhaps it's losing its effect. I don't know. Maybe this is the last time we rewind time, Marvel.
I don't know. They'll never stop rewinding time. I mean, comics have certainly never stopped
No,
rewinding
you're
time.
right. It is
that's
such
true.
a comic book trope. You're absolutely
How do we shove them all in? The description for this film is interesting. If you were looking at it on YouTube, you just scroll down a little bit above the comments in the description. It starts off saying, very interesting quote, "Meanwhile, in another universe."
Right.
So kind of setting up that this is separate from everything we've known so far. Though you made a good point earlier, Jordan, about that phrase.
Yeah, I think that phrase, maybe the first time we've seen that, correct me if I'm wrong, drag me in the chat, is after Venom. One of the post-credits scenes for Venom was a tease of Into the Spider-Verse, and it started out with that phrase, "Meanwhile in another universe." So it seems like kind of a Sony signature phrase to let you know not to expect too many cameos.
Right.
Well, there's nothing more comic booky than Meanwhile, and I feel
you're
like
right.
Meanwhile in Another Universe is a way to be like, we're comics, but also I think the way they have this set up is that Ben, what's his last name? Shorts? Ben...
Adam Scott?
Adam Scott, yes. He's playing Ben.
Well, we don't know. We don't know.
Again,
Will
rumored to
Nick
be playing
Offerman
Ben.
appear? Which other Parks and Rec cast members?
But if he's rumored to be playing Ben, I'd imagine that would be either Ben Parker or perhaps his dad, depending on which continuity they go with.
Yeah.
And then you could have them trying to rescue that baby as baby Peter Parker, which would imply that would need to be another universe because they're adults and it seems to be modern day.
It seems
So-
when this movie was, there was like set photos that came out that showed old advertisements for like Beyonce's first album and like 3G cell phones. And in this trailer, you can see there's like a payphone that's working.
Sure.
The optometrist office that she's at is using a computer that's very like early 2000s,
Right.
right?
I'm so not ready for that to be a period piece.
I know. That's 20 years ago, folks. The 90s were 30 years ago.
Right.
So
Someone's gonna put on headphones and listen to the shit.
well, there is the character Maddie.
Just a
She
throwback.
has
This band will
she
change
has
your life.
headphones that have a wire going down. I couldn't see what it was connected to. Now she could be a cool retro teen using old tech.
oh,
but
it's someone who has a
probably just-
PSP, right?
Yeah, there's a PSP on the subway.
Yeah, a Sony PSP from 2004, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Japan 2004, America 2005. I just looked it up, so that's how I know. I mean, he could be keeping it going, but it's probably
Yeah, I think there's some
they're
PSP
setting this in
heads
the early
out there
2000s.
who, yeah.
Plus their look. I mean, that fashion style is now back, so it's very hard.
It's
to
hard
tell.
when you go to Melrose Trading Post. It's
Yeah.
the 90s again.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is taking place earlier, but like I don't think it. I would hope they're not saying like, oh, this is the Raimi verse or this is even Andrew Garfield's universe.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's
I
its
wanted
own
to keep it
in another
separate.
universe.
Yeah, and certainly Madam Web is a character that can come in and out of other universes. If you're familiar with that character, it's likely through an animated Spider-Man, whether from the 90s or in Ultimate Spider-Man in like the Disney XD era. But that one was Julia Carpenter became Madam Web in that one. Now, Sydney Sweeney plays Julia Carpenter in this movie. So who knows?
Fun fact, in a very, very recent hunt of Craven, which is their next movie, the current Madam Web at the time, which was still Cassandra Webb, is killed and gives her powers to Julia Carpenter.
Okay.
So it's in a
Yes.
Craven story where that power gets passed on. I'm not saying it's going to happen,
Right.
but it'd be interesting if at the end of this movie, Dakota Johnson only wanted to do one, and then the powers are given over to her, and then something later on ties into like stuff with Craven.
Well, it looks like we'll see all these women in their Spidey suits.
Oh yeah, which they showed in the trailer surprised me. But the
Very
movie's been out for 3
surprising to
months.
see. Yeah, very interesting. There was also a vignette that Sony put out today interviewing both the director and Dakota Johnson. And Dakota Johnson said something interesting in it. She's like, this is a Madam Web we see before she goes into the wheelchair, is what she said. Something like that. So I'm wondering if by the end of this movie, she's in the wheelchair. She's in the machine that makes her look like Madam Web. Right?
Yeah, and blind and like experiencing
Right.
because it's also a fun fact. John Romita Jr., one of my favorite comic artists of all time, co-invented her in one of his first issues,
okay.
and he also co-invented Ezekiel 30 years later because he's been in comics that long. So Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2, number 30, came out in 2000. 1 or late 1999, because 5 issues later is The Last of Ezekiel. So it's going into 2001, and then she was invented in like the late 70s, early 80s. Yeah, maybe 1980. Invented. So like literally a span of 30 years is incredible that he's been that formative Spider-Man for so long. But these are like 2 bookends, and he's still illustrating Spider-Man. Like the current ongoing is still him. So that run of Spider-Man, and his dad was one of the first artists to take over after Steve Ditko. So his dad, Johnny Romita Sr., was one of the first guys to like lay new pencils on Spidey, and Junior is one of the first guys to take over from his father after Ross Andrew, a few other artists. Preceding McFarlane and a lot of the more modernized style, he brought that classic style, but he's still to this day inventing new characters like Ezekiel. So as a comic nerd, it was really cool to see a trailer that like spanned this man's iconic
spun a web.
Whoa, we're all connected.
A web of time.
Yeah.
Why are all these Spidey girls going to the same school?
How do they know each other?
How do they all know each other? What's going on?
They don't in the comics. They're all from 616, or they all have canon 616 appearances.
Right.
Anya Corazon is a really cool character who has almost like a Blue Beetle-esque. She has a tattoo, but there's external elements to her powers that tie into the spider totem, which I'm not sure they're going to touch on. Maddie is one of my favorite spider people, and she's in this, and basically in Spider-Man continuity, the first 441 issues of Spider-Man, there was no break. There was no end of continuity. They ran 1 to 441, and they ended 441 with this thing called The Gathering of 5. And it was a 5-issue series across all the different Spider-Man titles, and it ended Spider-Man. Like now, no comics had ran this long yet. Even Superman and Batman had breaks and renumbered. 441 was huge. They ended Spider-Man, and then when Spider-Man came back in the first volume 2 of Spider-Man, she was already like a seed planted, and then she's fully Spider-Woman in issues 5 and 6. So she's hugely formative to early 2000s Spider-Man, but she hasn't been seen in a while in that way. And then who was the third one? There was a third spot. There was Anya. Oh, and then Julia, Sydney Sweeney's playing. She was introduced in Secret Wars. So way back in Secret Wars, issues 6 and 7, she's introduced. She doesn't come back for a while, and she was introduced through like a mix of plant and spider toxin, giving her powers. And then she goes away for a while, and then she comes back more recently as like this spy element. And Julia Carpenter is in like Civil War. She hangs out with Captain Marvel. So does Anya. There's a lot of the modern stuff mixing in these 70s classic characters. So what I'm curious about, sorry for that long rant, I had to get a lot of
context. Don't apologize.
Yeah.
Please do not apologize.
No, you know stuff.
So those characters, what I find interesting is those are all from very different parts of the Spider-Man mythology. You've got a character from the 70s. You've got a character from the reinvention of the 2000s. You've got a character that was kind of going to take over for the young version of Spider-Man while they aged him up. The Anya character was actually the first character to get a new Amazing Fantasy. So Spider-Man did introduce an Amazing Fantasy number 15. They do an Amazing Fantasy volume 2 to introduce her in issue 1. She's like, this is going to be our new like character because they're trying to mature up Spider-Man. So they wanted to give new fans a Spider-Person. So Anya literally represents a new reinvention pre-Ultimate Spider-Man. So these are all hugely different times, all in one movie for the first time, all led by a character that Spider-Man went to for advice and then went back to for advice when like Juggernaut was rampaging. So it doesn't work in the comic sense. So I'm more excited because the whole trailer I was like, how will this possibly be cohesive?
Yeah.
And I think it will, but even if it's not, I can't wait.
I mean, I don't think it'll be cohesive, but it'll be entertaining.
And there will be a Stained song over the credits.
Yes.
All are gonna rock out and hate our stepdad.
Yeah, it did seem interesting too. It seems like they're wearing the same.
I love my stepdad.
They're wearing the same clothes for most of the trailer.
Yeah.
Like, is this like a really long, awful day
until they change into their super
women's
suits.
lives? Yeah, I don't know. It's just a very bizarre trailer. There is a moment in the trailer too, a very interesting line of exposition dialogue that again we had a lot of discussion about in the office. That I think Dakota Johnson is unfairly getting dragged for on the internet, where she says, and I'm paraphrasing, but something like, my mother worked in the Amazon with spiders and something like that. A very strange line of dialogue. And it shows this notebook with like a spider, and there's these words written to it like toxic, ? Venomous, ? Natural, ?
Powers will get?
Yeah. Well, and it makes me think, if Ezekiel gets his powers from this weird spider in the Peruvian Amazon, right? We got that. Morbius got his powers from some bats in Costa Rica.
Right.
Craven looks like he's getting his powers from some lion's blood, I think in Africa. And
radioactive lions.
Involving some magic and stuff like that. We know Rhino in that movie is
Seems
going
to
to
transform into a
rhino. Is Sony going for some weird like Animorphs natural worlds magic animal villains?
It's the Bite-averse.
Yeah, I don't know. Because like that was the whole thing with Spider-Man. It was a spider that was made radioactive. It wasn't natural. It was like science got in the way. And most of Spider-Man's villains are like science-based, like, oopsie-doopsie, and now I'm a maniac.
But also the only character that would be the most linear to have that isn't in this team of Spider-Women, Silk.
Right, which is getting her own Amazon show.
That's why she's not in this, probably. Right. It's Amazon. Basically, Silk is the character that got bit by Spider-Man, by the spider that bit Spider-Man right after him. So, like, bit Peter Parker, lived, bit her, died. So, I think Silk would work for the Bite-verse, but I think that Insomniac and maybe Amazon have to, like, it's interesting.
I don't know. It's all very interesting, very strange. Do you think we're going to see, like, an actual nice Spider-Man? Will there be a Spider-Man, or they're going to let the ladies have this one? Let them be the heroes. Or do you think they're going to try and be like, oh, this is a new Spider-Man?
What I thought when they announced the movie was that this is a code name. They will not be making a movie about Madam Web.
Right.
Why would you do that?
Why would you do it?
I thought it was a code name for a Jessica Drew movie. I kind of thought that's where they were going, and with Dakota Johnson.
Sure, Spider-Woman.
And maybe, and that's pretty good casting, I think. But no, they actually made the Madam Web movie. So yeah, I wonder if you're going to get a more prominent female spider person.
Who comes out on top?
Do you get Haley Steinfeld as Ghost Spider in live action, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like they could do anything they want with this movie, especially with a character like Madam Web, who can
see through the web of universes.
I don't want to say she like she can go through the multiverse, but she can like see through it.
We'll see someone in a portal. We will see someone in a portal.
And it will maybe tie into Beyond the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, you might be right.
I mean it's right between Across and Beyond.
Yeah. I don't know. Is the Prowler going to show up or something? Is Bad Bunny going to come in as El Muerto?
If Donald Glover shows up in this, I'm seeing it 45 times.
Right, because I think the Nicolas Cage in The Flash has set the precedent for a canceled movie can be part of a multiverse.
Right. Yes.
A scrapped movie is fair game. So yeah, maybe then we'll see your beloved Bad Bunny.
Yeah, it'll be this weird thing too because this movie was supposed to come out July of this year. It was supposed to have already come out in July, and then it was going to come out in October. They moved it to put Kraven out in October. Of course, that obviously didn't happen because of the strike. Kraven's now coming out next August, and this is scheduled to come out Valentine's Day 2024. Take your honey.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
so great. Now this is coming out before Kraven, when in theory it was going to come out after Kraven, but originally before Kraven. I don't know.
Is that her fourth? Is that Dakota Johnson's like fourth Valentine's Day movie?
Oh, maybe, because definitely there was the
50 Shades of Grey,
50 Shades of
and
Grey.
then she had that like big date movie, that like Valentine's Day-esque like date night, like you know they always do like New Year's Eve.
Right.
And I think she had one of those.
She wasn't in the Valentine's Day movie.
No, but like an ensemble about
How to Be
dating.
Single? How to Be Single?
Yes, that came out on Valentine's Day. I think she's the Will Smith of Valentine's Day.
I don't know. When
Mr.
did the,
4th of
when did
July's
the
got
Social
a lady.
Network come out? Was that Valentine's Day?
Was she in that?
She is in the Social Network. That was like her second movie.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
She's
in it for like 10 minutes.
Right.
Less than that.
Still, that's
Right? So? You're not in it, Evan?
Yeah, okay.
I'm
a day player.
She's also a Nepo baby. Don't tell
I mean, you know.
Don't tell anybody.
In the Social Network, I said in the movie, an email goes out that I received in real life. So in the movie, I'm in the scene where they go like, "Oh, it's live," and they're like all talking around it, and then in real life, I was in a Boston college system, so I received the email when it was still the Facebook of when it was in beta. So in the movie, 10 years later, I'm there for the sending of an email that I received 10 years earlier.
Wow.
Adorable.
So I lived my own web of time.
Yeah, your own Madam Web. You were like,
I see
saw
the
him
past
die.
of my future.
I saw him become a robot. Who knew? Yeah, I don't. I'm interested. I'm intrigued. I'm scared. I'm a lot of feelings. Sony is really, they're just making the movies. They're making them.
They're cranking them out.
In a world where we're maybe only getting one MCU movie next year, maybe for good reason, it'll be interesting to see what all of these weird Sony Spider-Verse movies are going to do.
And do they, I mean, this is not a knock on the movie. And I do think, like, I do agree with you in that I think it'll be really fun to have a Marvel movie that's a little more of a B movie. The stakes aren't so high. It's not a world-ending thing. It's like, kind of a fun, trashy genre movie. Are the stakes lower for this one where it doesn't have to make $1 billion to
Certainly
be a success?
not. I imagine like the budget would be halved, so therefore the stakes are halved as far as financially.
And that's like such a bummer about the Marvels is that like, it's people are writing about it like this huge failure. Like it made $50 million and is the #1 movie. So it stinks that we're in a world where
the stakes
something
are
has
if
to
it's
be
not
that huge.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool that maybe this will be a movie that catches on. It doesn't have to be 4-quadrant giant to be considered a success, and maybe we'll be getting Madam Webs for years to come.
I want the people to have like different people to dress up as. Like my first thought was like, what cool cosplay opportunities for people that want to play their own spider people. Because if you got the Spider-Verse movies, you got to make a physical version of an animated thing. This is allowing people to just dress like the 2000s.
I'm playing Guy on the Subway. It says, New York's getting crazier every day.
Mm-hmm. And then we'll see him in the sequel, and he has a PlayStation Vita.
Great, I can't wait.
Great handheld.
I can't wait.
Great handheld.
Well, before we get to what if, ... question mark, we want to do a quick shout out and thank you to Boxu for sponsoring today's episode of The Breakroom. Boxu, hello, is a premium Japanese snack box that works with family businesses all over Japan to deliver a new theme of authentic Japanese snacks every month. And beyond the snacks, each Boxu comes with a booklet that teaches you all about the theme and where the snacks came from. Look at this cute little booklet. Ooh. Well designed. Got a nice glossy paper. Oh, look at those photos. It gives you a deeper appreciation for what you're eating so you can understand it. It also tells you what the label says, which is very helpful. We get these all the time in the office, and we eat them all, and they're delicious, and they're great. The first box of any Boxu subscription is Seasons of Japan. And after that, you receive a new theme every month with curated seasonal snacks. Boxu makes a great gift for any foodie you know, and the holidays are coming up. So if you want to give the gift of authentic Japanese snacks and support our channel, click the link in the description and use code Rockstars to get $15 off your first Boxu order. That's Rockstars to get $15 off your first Boxu order. Check out the link below in the description. Why do we have to say Rockstars? Why can't we say Breakroom?
Hey, we're working on it.
You don't have to answer that question.
Oh, before we get to what if, just quickly, if you guys don't follow me on Instagram or TikTok, I've broken down all of the reading recommendations. I said there were like 90.
Oh, cool.
I gave the top 20. I basically like 5 issues for each character of all the major characters, and where to find those issues are all available on my TikTok and Instagram. So I got a bunch of like who the characters are is one video, and then what comics to read is another one, because it is very dense and there's a lot of judgment.
Yeah, there's a lot to read.
I want you guys to understand the passion I have for these characters via reading them.
You think they're going toward the Inheritors?
I think the Inheritors are going to be teased as a post-credit scene, but I think we get Moreland now.
Okay.
I think we there's a bait and switch from Ezekiel being the bad to Moreland, and then I think at the end we like have what I think was going to happen with Doom and Kang, where it's like, oh, how did we beat this one guy? And then there's a bunch of them, and then I think that's what's coming. Cool. I hope.
Okay.
And I think that might be Beyond the Spider-Verse.
When you started that sentence, I was really worried because you were like, on TikTok and Instagram, I've broken down. And I was like, oh boy.
Oh, so someone else is breaking things down.
If you guys want to see my breakdown,
hey, real quick,
you can head my TikTok.
Check out my socials because I'm a mess.
Yep, it's a sad place.
Are you also kicking Berg's ass at Mortal Kombat on your
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
That'll change things.
Hell yeah. Okay, let's talk about What If Season 2. Who expected this trailer? Not I. What did everyone think of this trailer? I personally was so hyped when it started. I was like, oh, it made me remember how much I love season 1 of What If, which was kind of a surprise for me because it was pitched as this like, oh, they're all separate stories. It doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. Then they secretly like connected at the end and you were like, oh, this was great. What a lot of fun. I'm excited for season 2.
Me too. What If? I really liked What If. It took me by surprise. I think the action in What If is so good. The fighting is it's like some of the best MCU fighting. So I'm excited for more action. I mean, obviously this won't be the case for this one, but great little Chadwick Boseman performance in What If season 1.
Yeah.
He's really good in it. And
that Star-Lord episode is so special.
I know that episode is great.
Yeah.
It's so fun to see a version of Black Panther that's a little funnier, a little quippier. He's terrific in it. Definitely going to rewatch that as part of prep for season 2. But yeah, they're doing 1602, one of my favorite comics runs. The Marvel characters in the year 1602. So it looks like that's going to be an episode. I'm hyped for that.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick. The episode titles, this is what we think they are. This is what's been kind of like sent out, and we're pretty sure these are the titles of the episodes based on like some collective research. Evan's gonna caveat me, but I won't have it.
No, I'm going to say the titles because we can't show the picture of the titles.
Oh, that's fine. Evan will say the titles, and we will look on
politely.
Oh, I got to wear
Strong.
my hat the right way. Okay.
Okay, where's hat the right
Professional
way?
business.
So the order in the episodes, what we're thinking they are right now is what if Nebula joined the Nova Corps? Episode 2, what if Peter Quill attacked Earth's mightiest heroes? Episode 3, what if Happy Hogan saved Christmas?
Adorable.
4, what if Iron Man crashed into the Grand Master? 5, what if Captain Carter fought the Hydra Stomper? 6, what if the Avengers assembled in 1602? 7, what if Hela found the 10 rings? 8, what if Kahori reshaped the world? Kahorti, I think it's pronounced that way. And 209, what if Strange Supreme intervened?
Beautiful. And the Iron Man crash into the Grandmaster, we think that was the
Mario Kart, right?
Well, that was the racing one.
The Mad
you see
Maxy
in,
thing, yeah.
in the trailer, and also like an episode that was supposed to be in season 1, but didn't come out because they didn't finish the animation in time. Because there was like a missing episode. There's like a Lego set from season 1 that featured kind of a different Iron Man suit with like kind of a different style, and so we think that was the episode that like got.
Oh, that's fun.
Because originally season 1 was like 9 episodes, and they're like just kidding, it's 8. Because I don't think they finished one at a time. So we think it's that one. Yeah, tons of cool visuals from the trailer. Yeah, that Mad Max style.
I love the
racing
Mad Max scenes.
was
Those
great.
all look fantastic. And the way
it
they
reminded me of
zoom
like
out.
wacky racers too. Everyone's got their own cool little car, and it makes sense too, right? Because like Tony, he loved hot rods, right? That was in the first Iron Man. He's got a hot rod in his garage.
That's why he's red and gold.
Yeah,
Hot rods.
exactly. That's really cool. I love the like, what if Peter Quill took on the Avengers? Because it's
the
a
80s.
young.
Yeah, and it's the 80s Avengers.
Yes.
And not only do we get Michael Douglas as Ant-Man, but we're seeing like if the Avengers had formed in the 80s, we're set with that team from the 80s comics. And I feel like it's going to give us the nostalgia of Peter Quill, but also the nostalgia of like comics from that time.
Right.
What a needle drop's gonna be.
Oh, dude, I can't imagine.
Some good ones.
Yeah, Kickstart My Heart, maybe.
I'd like that.
Take On Me.
I Need a Hero. Is that like 2 on the nose?
Any Kenny Loggins I'm
Overused
cool
a little
with.
bit.
Yeah, Any Loggins.
Any Loggins will be right.
Any Loggins? Kenny Loggins? Any Loggins.
Any Loggins.
Kenny Loggins.
Kenny
Kenny
Loggins.
Loggins is fine with me.
Yeah.
Huey Lewis in the News. I'd be happy about any of them.
Oh, I guess it would probably be stuff like from his mixtape. I bet that, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So some like AM Yacht Rocky type stuff.
That would be a lot of fun. Yeah, it's cool kind of seeing that lineup because we'll have like an older Agent Carter who like looks like she's leading S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
See Howard Stark. Dr. Wendy Lawson.
Yeah.
All those Marvels fans on their feet. The original Marvel coming in hot. It sounded like Annette Bening too. I don't know if they got her to come in.
It sounds like Michael Douglas was doing the voice.
I think it was Michael Douglas. He loves ants.
He did it in the first season.
He did. Yeah,
reprised his voice.
wild that some people come back for whatever,
Yes.
some people don't, but Michael Douglas is there.
He's just there. Well, that
Giving kinda
clip you
wacko
sent me this week, the GIF of the ants is still.
Oh, yeah.
I think my favorite thing to come out of Marvel. Like to this day,
When
that
they were
promo is
promoting
like
ants.
ants. Like to me, that's what Michael Douglas feels with the properties. Is like
He's killing it in every Ant-Man movie. I just saved $8. What a line!
I think the Die Hard Happy Hogan episode is going to be a big surprise, like
Yeah.
emotional hit. I think we
Yeah.
find out maybe who finally bought Avengers Tower.
Maybe.
Oh, okay.
Will they confirm that Santa's a mutant in that one?
I think they must.
They probably
setting up
will.
the DC universe for Lobo to fight him.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
But I think
Yeah, what are you which episodes are you most
Mad
hyped
Max
for?
episodes probably my most
That's
anticipated.
cool.
Yeah.
I mean, the 1602 is going to be fun.
Yeah,
Neil
I'm
Gaiman
yeah.
writing.
Yeah. No, it's a Neil Gaiman joint. Always does a great job. Yeah, so I think I'm most excited for that, just in terms of like seeing one of my favorite comic stories get animated. But the Peter Quill thing's gonna be great.
The
Him
80s
fighting-
Avengers
it's gonna be awesome.
is going to be so fun. I'm excited to see Hela again. I love Hela.
Yeah, it's some like
Like
characters.
seeing the ancient one
Yeah.
coming back.
I also feel there's gonna be a decent amount of Shang-Chi. It looked like a lot of Ten
Yeah.
Rings, a lot of and we've all been wanting Shang-Chi back.
Now we know Shang-Chi will be in like that Marvel Zombies thing they're doing. Because when they put out like the animation kind of designs for that, he was in that kind of like look of like the Marvel Zombies.
I mean, I didn't
hope
see
he shows
him
up
in
in
this,
the-
but a lot of his
yeah.
world looks like it's presented.
Yeah. I would love to see him in like Talo again.
I also think it feels like the first season where the end is going to tie it all together by the timing
Mm-hmm.
of each episode. Like obviously we get episode 3 on the 25th. We get the Christmas episode on Christmas. But then by the end, right before New Year's, is that what if? What was the phrasing? The Supreme Strange.
Would a Strange Supreme intervened?
Yeah, so I'm wondering if that's going to be him intervening with Ultron, but like at this time maybe it's Kang.
I mean, we were kind of thinking in phase 5 into phase 4 into phase 5 we might see the Watcher at some point, right?
Yeah.
There was a lot of speculation that maybe in Guardians of the Galaxy we'll get a nod because he was the one that was always like, oh yeah, you will see Jeffrey Wright in live action as Uatu.
Right.
It hasn't happened yet. He's shown up in the Groot things, which are canon, the Iron
Right.
Groots.
Okay.
Right? Those are canon. So, and they consider the What Ifs all canon and like, they could come over. You never know. And when I remember when the trailer dropped for Multiverse of Madness, we all thought that Strange was like Strange
And
Supreme.
Captain Carter was our Captain Carter.
Right. Thank goodness she wasn't.
She wasn't, because it would have been 10 great minutes.
Half off. But I am excited to see the connections to season 1. Both Captain Carter fighting the Hydra Stomper seems to be a continuation of that story.
That Iron Giant-esque episode was so good.
Strange Supreme coming back. And also there was that one quick shot of Uatu kind of sitting when he's like, oh, the multiverse is more fractured than ever or something. And there's that hole. And that's from when Ultron
burst through,
right? And I imagine they're still dealing with that a little bit.
How many times are we gonna burst through universes?
I know.
I feel like we obviously did in Loki. Obviously we did in the Marvels. Obviously we did in
No Way Home. We bursted through.
Listen, you're bursting through. You're saving a car. That's teetering on
a lot of callbacks. A lot of
these are all
traditions.
Callbacks. These are all.
We're all bursting. We're bursting, Jerry. I'm bursting. I'm excited to see how it kind of weaves together and what the story is. And the episode that seems like it's gonna deal in the Echo story a little bit.
I assume they're gonna, and that's why I'm wondering if they rush this to come out in December before January, in addition to the Christmas, obviously. But it's just odd we hadn't heard, and then all of a sudden it was like, it's coming out right now.
Well, I mean, this was something early 2023. We're like, oh, we're gonna get What If season 2 any day now.
Yeah.
And it just kept never coming, and then I was like, oh, we'll get it.
It feels on purpose because of the Christmas episode, but it also feels weird that we didn't hear anything for a year.
Yeah,
wacky.
Yeah, I don't know. But there was also, there's a shot of Echo's costume from the show that seems very kind of authentic and tribal in nature. And I wonder if that has any connection to what we're going to see this character in these What If episodes, if they're going to establish some sort of connection there. I don't know.
It's also cool Harley Quinn to have a character introduced in this that hopefully maybe does translate into action.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
It'll be a lot of fun. And yeah, like you said, season 1 was a big surprise. A lot of fun. I think this will be a lot of fun too. And it's nice to see some of these characters again that we only ever get to see in the movies. And it takes years. And they have so high stakes. It's let's just get a quick little story. I want to see another Scarlet Witch story.
I didn't realize how much I was excited for Hela until I saw it. I was like, oh,
right,
no,
Hela.
I know, and you talk about the Marvel villain problem, right? Marvel has a tough time with villains. Hela's great.
So
I feel like Hela should have been Loki, where she gets to be an alter, but put her on the Avengers for a little bit. Who cares how many people she's killed?
Right.
What's a Ragnarok between friends?
What's a little Ragnarok?
They're on a different planet. Who cares?
The prophecy said it was going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
Toe Jam and Earl.
Genesis game.
Shinobi.
Remember when you could plug it in to the Knuckles cartridge and you could play Knuckles in any Sonic game. What a fun time that was.
You what a Sonic Pinball, Sonic 3D.
Goodness gracious. Well, finally today we had a little bit of Marvel news on top of all of these trailers that came out. It came out today that Dustin Daniel Cretton is no longer directing Kang Dynasty. Very interesting stuff. Does that mean Kang Dynasty isn't happening?
Yeah, just do Secret Wars. That's the thing people want to see.
Right.
It fixes your multiverse gunk. Just go right to Secret Wars.
Go right into it.
Don't have to use Kang if you don't want to for some reason. I don't know why you wouldn't want to use Kang, but maybe you don't want to use Kang. And then, just have Doom or Loki or somebody make a Secret Wars, and then everyone is having fun.
I think they need to introduce someone or reintroduce someone, maybe an Ultron, someone big in order for Doom. Because I think the original plan had always been to set up 5 to 7 movies of Kang power and make him this intimidating presence, and then Doom take him out, and then you're like, that's the real power, because that's comics, that's Secret War.
Sure.
So without Kang, I wonder how they're going to establish Doom's dominance, because obviously we all know the power of Doom, and obviously even non-pop culture folk know of Dr. Doom, but to establish him in the MCU, that needs to be a big establishment, and it sounds like they're going to be going with an already established, I've used established a lot, but you understand, they're already established Fantastic Four, so you can't really build Doom up there if they're already a first family. You need his own thing. There was talk of a Doctor Doom movie for a time. I'm only worried about going to Secret Wars directly without that first step to Doom feeling powerful enough. And I think Kang Dynasty was going to be, much like Infinity War, a Kang-centric film. And then at the end, I think Doom was going to take him out in his own movie. And that was going to set up Secret Wars. So now, without that, I'm just curious how they set up that power and that presence.
Yeah, I mean, I know that it seems like the Secret Wars that they're doing is the Hickman one, where
2015.
Doom creates Battle World,
Right.
but Doom doesn't have to create Battle World.
Sure.
Others have created Battle World in the past.
Yeah.
So I
And
don't
then
know.
the movies have often subverted who does what in these like storylines, or even totally changed storylines. The way Infinity War plays out in the movies totally different than the comics.
But I do think we'll get Battle World as soon as Deadpool. I just don't think we should. I just don't know how they're going to do it with their original plan. Like, that's a huge kink in the trajectory. So I worry that him leaving the project is the project not happening. It's just he was writing some and directing, right? Like,
they checked the writer too recently, isn't it? Jeff Loveness got.
So it doesn't seem like
outed.
Yeah, word on the
It's a
street was
short-lived
Loveness
Dynasty.
wasn't working on it anymore. Yeah, and I think there have been some talks too that Secret Wars was going to be 2 parts. I bet this guarantees that it's like a 2-parter. Right? Because I think you still need 2 Avengers movies to end your multiverse saga.
I agree. And I also think that it was going to be a longer trajectory to setting up a certain world that hates and fears certain people. And now I'm wondering if Thunderbolts, like, obviously Thunderbolts was going to be that switch to like, okay, we've got all these heroes that seem like Avengers. Oh, they're not so great.
Right.
And that causing this fear of heroes. And that will set up a world that...
all about Thunderbolts.
So
Thunderbolts.
to me, Thunderbolts was the gateway drug into X-Men, right? You have this team that like, oh, we don't have any Avengers. Everyone wants Avengers. Oh, that's awesome. We got Avengers. Oh, wait, they're dicks. And then you maybe they kill people. Maybe the event in Hartford happens in this instead of Civil War. Maybe something happens that causes a big fear of heroes. And then the X-Men are ripe for the picking because now we're in a world that doesn't trust Avengers. Now you've got X-Men who have these mutations, and now the world doesn't trust heroes at all. So it gives you a good platform for heroes. That's what I would do.
Good pitch.
But now my concern is if you get rid of Kang Dynasty, which might have been what happened, and you extend Secret Wars into 2, I would have had Secret Wars 1 be heroes we all know battling each other and have that big setup, lightly sprinkle in some new X-Men, and by Secret Wars 2, you have X-Men fighting the Avengers as a literal, the Avengers are known good, but they're not trusted. X-Men aren't trusted in general. Neither of them trust each other, and then you have the classic, like, hey, we don't trust each other, we fight first, then we team up, take on Doom and all
the comics.
We haven't had that to scale yet. The only thing that's going to top Endgame is like 50 heroes. Yeah. And I think that's what it was going to be, and now I'm a little worried.
I think it'll work because it'll set up the Jubilee trilogy.
That's what matters.
And then enter the Dazzler verse.
Now you ask how you get your Doom introduced. We have
Oh, that's right. That's right. Taylor Swift.
Taylor
as
Swift.
Sorry, I
as
keep
Dazzler.
interrupting.
No,
So
it's
excited,
okay.
so caffeinated.
Well, you ask how you get like Doom introduced to all this all the time. Obviously, we have a Fantastic Four movie coming. Deadline today putting out a story that like Pedro Pascal is being eyed as Mr. Fantastic, is very close to being Mr. Fantastic. Maybe already is Mr. Fantastic. Won't talk about it. Does Pedro Pascal get first refusal rights of every IP? Like, what is going on? And if they get Pedro Pascal...
He said no to the Frasier reboot, and that's
Right.
what
I guess so.
He was going to be Frasier.
Yeah.
Neo Frasier.
Yeah, he was going to be the new Frasier. I mean, if Pedro Pascal is Mr. Fantastic, does that guarantee that Giancarlo Esposito is Doom? Like, that makes the most sense, right?
Well, I guess what's the connection of why? I mean, I think
Those two gentlemen get to be in every universe that exists. You know what I mean? So
They're
it's like,
the default canon.
you need a hero, you go for Pedro. You need a villain, you go for Giancarlo.
Yeah.
Like, that's
I
how
think
you
what
do
it confirms is Moon Knight's in the new Avengers because Pedro and Oscar Isaac are homies, and I want to see them broing out on set. I want to see a little Mark Spector hanging out with Reed Richards vibe.
Sure.
Because he just showed up that day.
And if Dustin Daniel Cretton's out for Kang Dynasty, they're not doing that anymore. They said Wonder Man is still happening.
That's great. I would be so. I mean, I think the general feeling is like, man, maybe don't do as many Disney Plus shows.
Right.
I think Wonder Man would be such a fucking.
And I
blast
think it's a much easier show to do, and they'll probably restart from wherever they were. I know they had started shooting; they were trying to shoot during the strike.
Were they?
Yeah, they were getting shut down live on Twitch.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Wow.
It was when it was just the WGA strike. The show was written,
I'm sure
so they were
Wonder
trying
Man
to shoot it.
himself would have bad takes about the strike.
Wonder Man would
I
break.
hope they use some BTS.
Wonder Man would
of-
be a scab for sure.
Oh yeah.
I would love if there was BTS of people striking Wonder Man's set and they just have like the actor playing Wonder Man just
Like
walk
walking
by.
by,
Like
yeah.
it's only BTS. I'm like, oh sorry, gotta go to work.
That would be
Just
great.
a teamster, don't mind me. Yeah, I don't know. Get Giancarlo in as Doom. He'd be great.
He would be great. It's great casting.
He'd be a great Doom. I'm all for it. Yeah, I mean, any day now we'll probably get the full list of the Fantastic Four characters because a big rumor was that they had it when the strikes were happening, they didn't want to like put the news out, and they were just
Which is
sitting
why
on
the
it.
phrasing is all really interesting. And I did use the word official, which I technically shouldn't have, but I've heard from enough sources.
Yeah.
But it is interesting.
Deadline going with this story. Is
It feels
very
like.
interesting.
But I do wonder if it wasn't as done as they thought, because now all the phrasing is like, we got to check schedules because everything shifted 6 months, and now the schedules are stacked on each other.
Yeah,
like
he is in 9 other franchises.
Yeah.
So like maybe he had time then. Like, and that's the concern. It's
Right.
like, can
Yeah,
you imagine?
I believe they're gonna start shooting Last of Us season 2 in January. Like that's coming up very
and
soon.
Fantastic Four needs to get filmed.
Something needs to happen with these movies. Well, that's it for us today. Make sure to subscribe to the Breakroom channel right here on YouTube and give us a follow on Twitch where we do these videos live. Anyone want to plug their socials? I didn't allow anyone to do it during the Invincible. I skipped right over it.
Hey, I'll plug
Yeah.
those pre-orders for my graphic novel. I've got a graphic novel coming out next year, written by me, illustrated by the great Bowen McGurty, whose work you might know from Marvel Comics. It's called Youth Group. It is a YA horror comedy about goofy teenage exorcists. bit.ly/youth group book. You can look at a little art, you can see the cover, and you can get those pre-order links. So pre-order it so you can get it when it comes out.
Hell yeah. I love tangible media. I respect that.
Check out
You
Coy's
can
socials.
touch it. You can
Yes.
touch the book.
Touch the book.
You can find me at Coy Jandreau on TikTok. I finally passed 40K today. I'm so bad at social media. I'm so much better in person, I promise.
He's breaking down on social media,
I'm
folks.
breaking down! So
Live meltdown.
you can find them there. When I go live on TikTok, it will be for a meltdown. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, all at Coy Jandreau. And I am trying to get people to read comics. Very excited you wrote one. Because I think comics are the beautiful source of imagination that allow these stories to thrive. So get after it, and I'll recommend you some comics. Much love.
Heck yeah. And if you're in the Los Angeles area tomorrow, check out our live show at Brain Dead Studios on Fairfax. You can check out the link in the description for those tickets. There's still limited tickets available, but you can get in last second. Don't miss out on it. And be sure to follow at BreakroomNR on Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter, also known as X. We'll catch you next time. Latest Gators, have a good day. Hopefully no trailers tomorrow. Goodbye.